All right, let's jump right into this incredibly fascinating instructional text on mesmerism and discover exactly what it takes to master the rigorous ancient practice of Trautaka, or fixed gazing meditation. For this explainer, we're diving into a translated historical document, a true yogic manual that doesn't just offer polite suggestions, but literally demands absolute perfection from its students. It gives us this incredible window into how ancient practitioners viewed the power of the human mind, and more specifically, the raw power of the human eye. But before we actually get to the techniques, we have to treat this source material exactly as it was intended, as a strict training manual. And we have to ask, do you realistically possess the extreme discipline required to even begin? Because as we go through this, you're going to realize very quickly that this is not some casual weekend hobby. The text frames this practice as a complete, total lifestyle overhaul that is guaranteed to push your mind and your body to their absolute limits. So we're going to follow the exact journey laid out for a prospective student. We'll start with, are you qualified? Then we'll look at the practitioner's lifestyle, the power of Tritaka itself, the 5 specific gazing methods, and finally, the post-practice healing process. Let's start with part 1. Are you qualified? The sheer, uncompromising nature of these prerequisites is just wild. The text immediately establishes that this is not for everyone, demanding this rapid-fire list of physical and mental traits. First off, you must be exactly between the ages of 20 and 45. No exceptions. You cannot have any eye diseases whatsoever. You literally have to be completely debt-free and free from any financial worry, because mental sorrow blocks focus. You must have absolutely no addictions, 0 laziness, and a mind totally devoid of malice, anger, or base passions. You need a baseline of absolute faith and extreme patience before you are even allowed to start. So, what happens if you fail even just one of these criteria? Well, the manual sternly tells you to wait. It literally says you must delay your practice, work on your basic daily discipline, and completely cure your physical or mental flaws before attempting mesmerism. There are absolutely no shortcuts here. You don't just get to try it out for a few days to see if it works. You have to earn the right to begin by molding your very character into the perfect vessel for this knowledge. Let's move on to part 2. The practitioner's lifestyle. Assuming you actually made the cut, the manual demands a comprehensive, immediate overhaul of your daily existence. And it brilliantly illustrates this intense duality between the lifestyle you have to reject and the one you have to adopt. You must completely abandon hot, spicy, stimulating, or stale foods. The text even explicitly warns against staying awake at night watching shows, and it completely forbids daytime sleeping. Instead, you're mandated to eat simple, light food like ghee, milk, fruits, and nuts at highly specific times. Crucially, it demands the strict practice of brahmacharya, or celibacy, alongside maintaining total emotional peace. No anger, no rage, no conflict. Your external life basically has to become completely serene. And the text explicitly warns that if you don't see success in a month or 2, you absolutely cannot quit. It draws this fantastic parallel explaining that forging a powerful mind requires the exact same grueling, long-term repetition as building physical muscle. You wouldn't hit the gym for 2 weeks and expect to walk out looking like a bodybuilder, right? Well, this ancient text tells us that the mind operates on that exact same principle. Consistent, unbroken discipline over a very long period is literally the only path to mastery. Okay, part 3, the power of Tritaka. I absolutely love this metaphor from the text because it's surprisingly modern. It explains that human eyes act exactly like lit electrical bulbs, designed to project mental power and influence onto others. The whole premise of mesmerism here is that your internal mental power, which you've built up through that strict lifestyle and celibacy we just talked about, is projected outward through the eyes. Your eyes are the conduit. They are the lamps that shine your influence onto the world. So, to actually turn your eyes into these powerful bulbs, Western doctors and Indian yogic traditions alike agree that you must practice Tritakwa. And this begins with an incredibly detailed, step-by-step physical setup. You don't just stare blankly at a wall. You have to prepare a 1 by 1 foot square paper with a rupee-sized black circle on it. Inside that circle, you leave a white spot exactly the size of a mustard seed, and you fill it with yellow ink. You hang this in a room with perfectly moderate light and temperature, and you sit cross-legged with a straight spine exactly 4 feet away. You are then instructed to imagine your vision physically piercing that tiny yellow dot, staring unblinkingly until your eyes physically hurt and literally pour water. Every single morning, you must add half a minute to 1 minute to your endurance time. Now, as you relentlessly stare at this dot day after day, the manual describes a fascinating timeline of visual hallucinations that you will inevitably endure. At first, your eyes are just gonna hurt and water, but as days turn into weeks, the text notes that the black circle will begin to play tricks on you. It'll shift colors, turning white, then golden. It'll appear to shrink and grow. Eventually, you'll see literal sparks flying across your vision, and dark clouds will seem to cover the paper. But you are commanded to push through this illusion, because the final stage of mastery is when your vision perfectly stabilizes, the illusions completely vanish, and that dot locks perfectly and permanently into place no matter how long you stare at it. Which brings us to part 4, the 5 gazing methods. Because mastering the paper dot is just the beginning. True mastery requires conquering all 5 of these intense methods sequentially. So you start with the paper, but then you move to method 2, a mirror. You stick a silver, quarter-sized or Chavani-sized black dot on a mirror. Once you master that, you remove the dot and do something incredibly intense. You stare directly into the reflection of your own left pupil without blinking. Method 3 has you gazing into the living flame of a pure ghee or mustard oil lamp. And finally, methods 4 and 5 escalate the entire practice to the cosmos themselves, requiring you to hold your unblinking gaze on the early morning sun and then the moon.
And finally, part 5, post-practice healing.
Because you're staring unblinkingly for so long, you generate an immense amount of internal heat. So this brings us to the essential aftercare routine. To treat this severe ocular strain, you're instructed to buy a specific tiny glass cup, which the text charmingly notes costs just 4 to 5 paise in the market. You fill this cup with pure rose water, press it to your face, and actually open your strained eyes directly underwater. This eye bath is mandatory to extinguish the burning heat and restore coolness to your vision. But that cooling process doesn't stop at just the eyes. Immediately after the eye bath, you must consume a highly specific cooling diet to bring your overall internal body temperature back down. The manual prescribes rich, soothing foods like cold milk, yogurt lassi, pure butter, mishri or rock sugar, fresh fruit, and sweet sherbet. It's a really fascinating holistic approach. The intense, fiery exertion of the mind and eyes absolutely must be perfectly balanced by the cooling, restorative properties of this specific diet. So, after breaking down this absolutely rigorous, uncompromising ancient manual, from the strict lifestyle changes all the way to staring unblinkingly at the morning sun, it really leaves you wondering. In our modern world of constant notifications, endless scrolling, and let's face it, 15-second attention spans, do you actually have the mental fortitude to sit in a quiet room, completely detached from your physical discomfort, and endure this ancient discipline? It's a profound challenge that asks us just how much control we really have over our own minds. Definitely something to think about the next time you find yourself unable to focus.